Someone's putting in the time, pushing down those trees. Here's a look at the brand new NECA Toys Dinosaurs Earl Sinclair. The Sinclairs are your average family with one big difference. They're talking dinosaurs living in the year 60,000,003 BC. Jim Henson's Creatures for Dinosaurs made this early 1990s show a comedy hit that's still certifiably fresh. Now you can bring home a little bit of the Jurassic with NECA's detailed action figures. Earl Sinclair is the patriarch of the original reptilian prehistoric nuclear family, an all-around good guy. Before we move over to the accessories that come included with this daddy Megalosaurus, let's grab the tape measure and see how tall the brand new Dinosaurs Earl Sinclair stands. I'd like to also thank the folks over at NECA Toys, if I can, that did provide this sample of Earl that we could have a look in this review. Some of the best NECA things we've gotten in recent memories. Who says so? We say so. The figure, though, of Earl stands exactly 6 inches in height, or the figure's 15 centimeters tall. Now, the second dinosaur figure we've gotten, sliding over Earl, bringing in the earlier looked at baby Sinclair. I've got him still currently in his high chair. That's not going to last long. You can actually take baby Sinclair and rest him also on the shoulders. I'm sure you'll also want to put a frying pan in his hand so he can whack poor Earl over the head. Head whacking will have to come a little bit later, though. Let's first look at the accessories that come included with Earl. First, the figure comes included with this tiny little mug. The Fern Hill mug, as you can see, is one that we see also in the series as well. It does have the little pipe sticking out from the front of the dinosaur's mouth and a little sailor's cap on the top. There's nothing, sadly, inside the Fern Hill mug, but certainly one that you can have displayed with the figure. Now, he doesn't have right now the means to hold said mug, but don't worry, he does also come included with a couple of gripping hands. So you can take this hand, for example, and easily fit the mug handle around it, and then obviously just unplug the existing hand that he has right now in the forearm and just put this one in place instead. The figure also comes included with a remote control. It isn't, though, the same remote control that came included with Baby Sinclair. Baby's, though, was just a slight bit smaller. And again, you can have the figures displayed with this also as well. Decent paint, really, for the size of the accessory it is. The buttons, as you can see, have been painted nicely in black. The little knobs, the little lights down below are also painted in red. Again, a nice little remote control that he has in the series. The figure also comes included with this sailor's hat. Now, the sailor's hat works not only with the alternate head sculpt that we're going to swap out in a second, but he also works with the existing head. It basically just, these little fins that he has on the sides of his face, the little scales that stick out, you can actually just take the sailor's hat and it rests really nicely on that, to the point where you can actually tilt the figure upside down. And yes, it does survive the Blizzard's test. The Blizzard test, by the way, is a reference to Dairy Queen. I know people have often asked me that. What's the Blizzard test? Blizzard test was usually when they made Blizzards back in the 80s. I don't think they do it as much now, because at some point it probably happened where it dumped all over some poor kid's head. But they would make the Blizzard behind the scenes, behind the counter. They'd bring it up to the front, and just to show you how thick the ice cream was, they usually would tilt the Blizzard over top of the child's head, and just to show you that the ice cream wasn't falling out. Again, sooner or later, something had to fall out of the cup and onto some poor kid's face, and then the kid went, "Eh!" And then the parent, of course, got really upset with the person working behind the counter, so they have since stopped, from what at least I've seen, stopped doing the Blizzard test. All that just to show you the fact that the sailor's hat did actually fit on his head. The figure also comes included with his beer, his brewskis. The one thing I really like about this is the fact that you get 6 of them attached onto the tray, but any one of them can be detached. You want to be careful, though, detaching it, because these are softer plastic, but you can remove any one of the cans and fit them inside his hand. He does also have a hand for holding the beer. You just kind of fit it in between the thumb and the pointer, and you can rest it inside his hand that way, so the figure can display himself with one of the beer cans. He doesn't seem to have a means to really hold the entire tray together. So if you really wanted to, I guess there's this one that you can kind of just pinch the side of it, but it never really stays properly in place. I mean, it kind of just bounces in there. I mean, probably, I guess you can kind of rest it like that. You can have the figure displayed, him holding the entire tray, or again, you can pull any one of the cans out individually and have the figure displayed as well. The figure also comes included, let's just move everything out of the way, with a pair of, well, several swap out hands. First, he has sort of the gestured hands that he normally has in the series when he's sort of just communicating with the rest of the family in the family room. He does also come included with a couple of pointing hands. All of these hands, by the way, are really exquisitely painted, down to each of the individual fingernails also there as well. And again, these just simply pop out from the existing hand. He also has a couple of gripping hands. And he also has this hand, which actually, like, this hand is also really good for also holding the remote if I don't grab babies by mistake. And that just fits into his hand. This actually is designed in such a way that the thumb fits really right onto the button. But again, like, you kind of have to really rest it against it. It's kind of better to really have it upright, or you can also put it in between. Does it survive the blizzard test? It does survive the blizzard test. What is this guy even talking about with blizzards? I know I already covered that territory. So those are all the hands that he comes also included with. Like I said, the figure also comes included with an alternate head sculpt. As it is right now, let's remove the sailor's hat you just missed. The defaulted head that he has is this one right here, which would be a fine contender for the way I'm going to be displaying the figure on the shelf. But honestly, though, really between the two, I love this head sculpt. Love it so much. I love the way they've actually sculpted now visible teeth, top and bottom. It also has an open mouth, and he has a big smile on his face, so I guess baby hasn't started to whack him over the head just yet. Good head sculpts on both, but again, like, I think really between the two, I'm going to go with this one when it comes to displaying this guy on the shelf. This one, though, just has a regular smile on Earl's front face. I looked online. Apparently, Earl was 43 years old. I mean, I don't know what the lifespan of a dinosaur was back then, but I would imagine 43 is getting really up there in years. 43 just on an adult human is getting up there in years. Although many people would say 40 is the new 30. You know who says that? 40-year-olds. You know who says that? The guy behind the camera. Anyways, he does have a smile across his face. He also has this one here as well that, again, has the teeth. I really like this one between the two. Changing out the heads is just a case of popping the head off from the existing ball joint. You don't have to do it to the point where it makes a satisfying pop like that. And then we just pop the new head in place. I didn't even really have to heat this up with hot water or a hairdryer. The head actually attached perfectly fine. Really like the head sculpt on this one. Some really nice use of lighter yellowish greens, darker greens also there, making up the majority of his head. And the Megalosaurus, of course, also does have the darker brown also on the little tiny spines that he has, the spikes sticking up the top of his head. For the rest of the figure's body, he does have the red flannel shirt. Now, this is actually softer plastic. It looks to be the case that they probably overlaid it over an existing dinosaur body. I'm guessing they probably will use this body to some extent for probably some of the future dinosaur figures. And he also has some nice sculpted sleeves that aren't as much softer plastic on his arms. Those are just sculpted into the rest of his forearms. The plaid, for what it is, I don't know if I would imagine it's probably been printed at a company level, because it does look like it's very cleanly printed. It doesn't look like I don't think somebody would have gone in here and very meticulously tried to paint this by hand. Like, the plaid looks really good on Earl's body. It looks a little on the faded side, but it does capture still the nice red shirt that he has in the series. He's got very large legs. Look at the size of these legs on him, and equally large feet on the bottoms of his body. A little bit of assembly was required. You'll notice in the beginning of this review, I ended up taking the tail out. That was separate, because obviously it would have been very difficult to put them inside the tray the way it is right now. So the tail is a separate piece, and it's just a case you have to attach it onto the ball joint that's provided on the inside cavity of his body. Again, didn't really need to heat it up at all. It seemed to attach fine. I mean, a little bit of wiggling. I'm sure, of course, as I cover off the territory of the articulation on this guy, maybe his tail may come off. Let's hope that's not the case. For the figure's articulation, though, Earl's head is going to be on that ball joint, so it does rotate back and forth. It looks up and it looks down. Periodically, unless I just don't have the head all the way on there, if I move the head up too far, it usually wants to detach itself from the ball joint. But you can see it's very easy to put back in place. As for the arms do rotate all the way around. They do get a little hung up, though, just by the way that they've designed the shoulders. So I would probably just say stick with more the idea of just rotating it back and forth. Don't try to rotate it all the way around, because it will get stuck right there. The figure does have a swivel in his forearm that also allows the hinge. There's a hinge on the elbow. I noticed on the hinge on this elbow, it was a little tighter than it was on this side, but it does have at least a hinge there. The hinge also allows and affords the forearm to rotate back and forth. Hands rotate also all the way around. There's a hinge there as well. For the legs themselves, the legs do split out. There's ball joints inside behind the scenes. You take the legs and move forward. You can move them back. There's a swivel here at the calf section. Would that still be the calf of the dinosaur? There's also a hinge right there. And there's also an ankle rocker back and forth, and you can also hinge the feet up and down. Again, really tight here, so you may want to heat that up just with a little bit of hot water. Or if you don't really like the idea of using hot water, hair dryers also work really well as well. You just take a few passes with the hair dryer, and you can soften up the joint before you start moving any further with it. And then for the back of the tail, it has a swivel section right here. It can move up and down. It swivels in a mid section of the tail, and then it swivels here and here. So kind of swivels in 4 different places. They all seem to be as well ball joints, like what they've done before with the Godzilla figures, for example. Seems to be something you carried over here as well for the dinosaur figures. Ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint. No, I don't really have ball joints. My ball joints haven't worked in a while. Nice looking figure though. And again, like if you wanted to, I didn't really get the chance to show you guys. If you wanted to, just you can easily just detach the hands, just remove them. Very tiny little pegs. And if you wanted to, let's say, for example, what hand do we want to use? What hand? Well, let's say, for example, let's just swap it out with this hand. And then you can have Earl Sinclair getting his little remote control in his hand. The remote control is honestly one thing that doesn't fit really super well into his hand, so you sort of have to just balance it on top of his hand like that. And of course, if you wanted to, you could take yourself, let's slide him back just a little bit. Take baby Sinclair, we'll just detach him from his booster seat, or his high chair. We'll just slide off the front here. And I did say what you can also do too, you can bring the legs a little bit further out from baby, and you can also put this around Earl's head. Now, it doesn't sit super comfortably. I mean, you kind of have to balance it just a little bit, but you can get baby Sinclair to rest on Earl's head. I find it actually will help a little bit if you twist the tail around. So let's just put Earl's head back in there, pop the tail and rotate it just a little bit around. I did find a way you could rest baby Sinclair, although it's not the easiest. You can kind of wedge it on top of his head, but there's not really a lot of super clearance to be able to accommodate that. You kind of have to bring the baby just around a little bit, but it seems to work. I've seen other people do this as well. You just have to really kind of force it to get it on there, but I might just try to figure that out a little bit more as we get over to the final looks of the figure. Overall, though, really nice looking Earl Sinclair. My favorite, really, of the entire family. The thing about Dinosaurs also as well is that it was produced by Jim Henson Studios. When they were getting around to actually doing the Steven Spielberg Flintstones movie, originally they had reached out to Stan Winston to do all the practical effects for the dinosaurs. It turned out, though, that Stan Winston delivered top-notch dinosaurs, but they looked a little too realistic, and they wanted to have more whimsical-looking dinosaurs. So what they ended up doing was they looked to Dinosaurs, the TV series, and reached out to Jim Henson Studios to provide all the prosthetic, all the animatronic dinosaurs based on what they saw for the Dinosaurs TV series. So not only did dinosaurs live in the series itself, but also just from the ideas of Jim Henson's talented artists behind the scenes, it also allowed them a chance to branch off into the movies where they provided the dinosaurs for the Flintstones movies starring John Goodman. Moving over to the prehistoric rotisserie, I've got Earl Sinclair displayed with baby Sinclair somewhat resting on his shoulders. This is cheated more so by just twisting the tail a little bit on baby Sinclair, and it's actually, baby Sinclair is resting more on the end of the tail than he's resting on the shoulders of Earl, but it can be done. While it's not as believable from the back, you can buy it a little bit more from the front, and baby Sinclair, judging by the fact he does have a frying pan in his hand, not the mama is going to be uttered at some point, and you know that Earl is going to get a whack over the head. I've got the figure also displayed with one drink in his hand. I like the idea that you can actually remove the drinks from the tray, and I've got the figure also displayed with the remote control in his other. I don't know why I was in the review telling you guys there really wasn't a way to actually hold the remote properly, when he does actually have a dedicated gripping hand solely for holding the remote. In fact, actually the thumb rests really nicely over top of the button, so he can actually hold both accessories in his hand. Earl by far has always been my favorite character from the Dinosaurs series. I know we are going to be getting the rest of the actual Sinclair clan, but I hope that also NECA branches out and gives us some of the other side characters that make up the dinosaur universe. Hey, you never know as well. I know they're not in the market usually of doing dioramas, but I hope that NECA also gives us a diorama, maybe not necessarily with working appliances or real actually moving furniture, but at least giving us a background display, either of the kitchen or the living room, a place to display the dinosaur figures when we get the remaining of them. What do you guys think of Earl Sinclair? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you been collecting any dinosaur figures? I know we only really have Baby and Earl, but have you been collecting the line so far? Let me know down below in the comment section. Big thank you once again to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide the sample of the brand new Dinosaurs Earl Sinclair that we had the chance to have a look at in this review. If you guys are interested, both Earl and Baby are available right now in retail stores and online. If you guys also wanted to, you can also order this one from Entertainment Earth. I'll provide the link down below in the video description. You can also save 10% on anything that's currently in stock. If you guys did enjoy this video, want to throw it a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and would like to stick around for more, we all also going to be looking at some more NECA reviews. That kind of goes with the territory. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you turn on the bell notification, all that fun stuff to ensure that you're never going to miss a beat whenever a new video posts. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.